Hello and welcome to class today. We'll be exploring hip mobility in today's class, specifically the action of rotation in the hip, with a theme of I am open at the edge of my strength. Hips can kind of really hold a lot of vulnerability. They can hold a lot of tension from the ways that we hold our body day to day, and they can get stuck in these different shapes that we take. So today we'll play around with the action of internal and external rotation through the range of motion that's accessible in your body to the edge of our strength, and hopefully giving some support to widening that access at those outer edges. Keeping in mind this intention of opening at the edge of your strength, we'll start by connecting to the breath. So you can keep the hands in the lap, or you might bring one hand to the heart, one hand to the belly. And we'll think about breathing in through the nose, filling up all the way into the pelvis. And then a sigh out with some audible constriction at the back of the throat. Breath in through the nose. And that sigh out. Notice that sensation of constriction at the back of the throat. This time as we breathe in, we'll breathe in through the nose. Keep the lips shut this time, and with that same sighing energy, let it go out the nose. Our Ujjayi breath here. That audible nature of that exhale should really only be audible to your own system, to your own body. Building a little bit of heat, building a little bit of warming in the system. As you play with this Ujjayi breath, I invite you to bring in that mantra, that intention, either the one that I'm presenting here or one that you would like for your practice today. So if you're following the intention I'm offering, with every breath in, breathe in, I open to the edge of my strength. And as you exhale, let that exhale transform that intention in any way that it needs to be. With every inhale, thinking about breathing in your own intention. And these exhales are the places for transformation to happen, for shift to happen. We'll do 2 more rounds of breath, linking breath with intention. Holding on to that Ujjayi breath, coming back to it throughout our practice. We'll start to shift off from the seat that we're in, maybe booting any animals off. We'll have blocks up at the front of the mat here so that they're accessible. And we'll bring both hands to the mat, pressing down into the earth, knees underneath hips, hands underneath shoulders. And I want you to guide this from your hips. So we're going to take some cat-cows here, moving with our breath. On that inhale, I want you to think about tilting the hip bones back in space, allowing that to pull the rest of your spine into this cow shape. And as you exhale, start from the hips, curling them under, letting the rest of your spine follow into this cat shape. You might press into the hands to round through the back. Inhale to tilt the pelvis, let the spine follow, the gaze looks slightly up or forward. Exhale, starting with the hips, round through, letting the rest of the spine pull into that cat shape. 2 or 3 more rounds, moving with your breath. On then next inhale, we'll bring the spine back through neutral. We'll walk the hands a handprint forward. You might bring them up onto blocks, or you can leave them here. And we'll leave the right hand grounded on the mat. Bring the toes together, the knees slightly wide, and start to reach that left hand back behind you, finding a side stretch in the right side of the body. Inhale to reach both hands forward, shift the hips back over the knees. Exhale, we'll swap it out to the other side. Left hand stays long, right hand reaches back as we find that side bend. You might look over towards the right. Whew. Inhale to come back through center, swap the hands. Exhale, sink it back, reach that left hand back. Eyes can go towards the left. One more time on each side, moving with your breath pace. So just finding these little side bends. Last one here. Inhale brings you back through center. We'll walk the hands back, bring the shins so that they're parallel. You can come onto a seat on the earth, maybe feeling this internal rotation in the hips. If this isn't too intense, you can bring some blocks underneath the sits bones. And sink the hips down onto those blocks, or you can bring the legs crossed in front of you. Inhale, open the arms out towards the side. On an exhale, we're going to twist towards the left. Oh, towards the right for you all. One way and then the other. We'll inhale back through center. Exhale, feel the abdominal walls pulling in towards the belly button. And then inhale to come back through center. If the arms get tired here, they can come towards the hip creases, and we'll just twist from there, and taking it a couple of rounds, moving with your breath from side to side. You might even cross the arms over to the opposite knee. Find an arm variation that feels okay for you. One more breath back through center. My cat has sat on my practice plan. Who knows what'll happen next? Evening out the sides here, just warming up the spine. Bringing that back through center, we'll lift off the ground, off the blocks, bring them back towards the top of your mat. And just shift them over towards the side, and we'll come down onto the belly. Hips come down onto the mat. If this feels too intense on the low back, you can bring a blanket or a pillow underneath the hips. We'll bring the hands to be in a sphinx shape, so just like this equal sign in front of you, elbows underneath shoulders. And we'll bend through the right leg, curl our neck in, round through the top of the spine. Exhale, extend the leg out, lift the chest. Inhale, fill up through the back body. Chin comes to chest, toes point towards the ceiling. You might even lift the knee off the mat, noticing your edge, and exhale. Squeeze the air out of that back body. Two more times here. Inhale, round through the neck, point the toes towards the ceiling. Knee might lift here. Exhale, unwind. One more. Round through, just flossing that nerve there. And let that go. We'll take that to the other side, bringing the right toes towards the ceiling, chin tucked, slight round through the upper back. Exhale to point the toes down towards the back of your space, chest lifts, head lifts. Inhale to fill through the back body, point the toes towards the ceiling, lift the knee slightly. Exhale to release. Two more here. If you feel any tingling or pain, back out of the shape. We are looking just for a sensation of stretch. Any numbness, tingling, or pain are signs that you're moving too far. Last exhale. Come back through neutral. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders. press up, and we'll start to shift onto the back body here. Coming all the way down onto the back body. We'll take the right leg, bringing the knee over the hip here, coming into this bend in the knee. Think about tucking the chest, and we will inhale, reach the toes towards the sky, point the toes. Exhale, flex through the foot, bend through the knee. So we're trying to keep a 90-90 shape in each of our joints here in the hip and in the knee. As we inhale, we're pointing the toes up towards the ceiling. If you need that extra support, you can bring a hand or a strap or a blanket behind the thigh. We're just flossing that sciatic nerve here. One more here, point. And then flex through the foot, flex through the knee. This time reach the heel towards the ceiling. Hands this time can come behind the thigh to help support the shape. A gentle bend through the knee, and we'll just point and flex through the toes. Link this to your breath, your choice whether you want the point to be the inhale or the exhale. Just move with your body. Two more here. Bring the foot back through neutral. And we're going to play around with the sensation and distinguishing flexion and rotation in that right hip. So flexion is is how our hip is oriented right now. We're bending towards the upper half of the body, and extension is lowering that leg down. So we're just going to feel that out. So play around with lifting the leg and lowering the leg, feeling how that sensation appears in that hip socket. You might even bring a hand to that space and notice that fold and unfold. Linking breath to movement here, inhaling to lift the leg and exhaling to lower it. Let's do that 2 more times. One more time here. This time as you inhale, bend through the knee, and we're going to play with rotating from the hip joint now. So we're going to bring the knee out and around. Inhaling to find that rotation, exhaling to rotate back. You can even bring a hand here to notice how this feels different. Hand can come towards the hip, or you can bring it towards the knee just to bring awareness of the knee maintaining that stacked location over the hip. If you notice that your knee is coming in and out towards your chest, you're utilizing that movement of flexion instead of rotation. So we really want to keep almost like there's a pull from your knee to your hip. So find that range of motion in rotation. Next time that the shin comes in towards that left shoulder, we're going to let that shin rest on the knee here, finding that maximum rotation that you can do with your muscles, and then bringing the knee to meet that right shin. So that left knee meets that right shin. We're going to bring that rotation in just a little bit further. You can maintain that right hand on that right knee. And we're going to think about pressing the knee towards the bottom of your mat here. Your foot can be placed on a wall. It can stay on the floor if that's where your range of motion is. Or if you'd like, you can slide some blocks underneath that left foot and use that to push in. Think about that knee pressing towards the bottom of your mat. 3 breath cycles here. Intensify that push. You got this. Release that isometric hold there. And this time we're going to think about that right foot pulling up towards that left shoulder. So still engaging in rotation here, but with a different action point. So the foot comes off that shin and pulls towards that left shoulder. And then breathe here. This should not make a lot of movement. The foot will probably come off of the shin or the knee. 2 more breath cycles here. Feeling that rotation movement, that isometric hold of those deep hip muscles. And then when you're ready, bring the hand towards the outside of the foot, one to the outside of the knee, and support that rotation in the hip. So we're going to use our hands to manually support going a little bit further in that rotation. It might just be sensationally a little bit further. It might be physically a little bit further, but just pulsing back and forth, kind of rotating through that femur bone. And then we're going to lengthen through that leg. Reach the arms up and overhead. Big side body stretch. You might even shift the torso over towards the right. And we'll take that all on the other side. So bringing the feet towards the mat, we'll start to shift the blocks over towards the other foot so that they're there when we need them. Keeping the right foot grounded on the mat, we're going to play around with that left leg. So we'll start by bringing the left knee over the left hip, bending through the knee, creating this like 90-degree angle with the foot. You can bring hands behind the thigh, or you can use strength to hold this shape. And then on an inhale, we're going to straighten through the legs. So thinking about just that lower leg bone stacking over the upper leg bone, point through the toes. And then exhale, flex through the heel, bend through the knee, keeping the knee stacked over the hip. You can bring a hand to that knee to make sure it stays in that spot. And move with your breath. Inhaling to point the toes, stack lower leg on top of upper leg. And exhaling, flexing through the foot, coming back through to that 90-degree bend. Moving with your breath here. You notice any tingling or pain, back off of the stretch. It can be kind of a brain teaser as well, like which part of my bodies are doing what. And then the next time that your leg is up towards the ceiling, keep the foot flexed like you're stamping into the ceiling here. Hands, if they're not already there, can come behind the thigh. And we're just going to point and flex the toe here. About 5 reps. Flex back through the leg, and we're going to feel that difference between flexion and extension versus rotation in this left hip. So think about breathing in and then exhaling to lower the heel down towards the mat. Extend through the hip. Exhale, bring the foot up towards the ceiling. Inhale to lower. Exhale to lift, finding that flexion here. There's going to be a gentle bend in the knee. Do this 2 more times. And as your foot is towards the ceiling, bend back through that knee, and we'll play around with that rotation. So we're thinking about the knee staying stacked over the hip and rotating through our hip here. So the foot just comes in towards the opposite shoulder. So this left foot is rotating on the axis of our femur towards the right shoulder. If you notice the knee coming in towards the chest or moving away from the chest, any of this movement as you're doing it, you're actually engaging in flexion. So really think about the knee staying where it's at and just rotating on that axis of the femur. Next time the foot comes in towards the body, make that rotation to its max limit, and then we're going to take that opposite knee and bring it behind the shin of that left foot. You may need to scooch blocks here to find that support, and then let that knee move the rotation closer to the body. So the actual, we're not coming into like a reclined pigeon where we bring the entire rotation up towards the chest. The knee still wants to be stacked over the hip. That knee is helping this left foot come towards the right shoulder. If you have a wall, it can be really nice to press into a wall here. If not, you got the blocks. And then we're going to think about pressing that knee, finding that rotation through that hip to find that max isometric hold in the rotating action of the hip. So that knee is, we're rotating down towards the bottom of the mat. 5 breaths here. Release that isometric push, and now we're going to engage that rotation by lifting that left foot towards the right shoulder. So again, keeping the knee stacked over the hip, it's just this isometric pull of that foot towards the shoulder. Ooh, your foot might come off the opposite knee for a moment here, and breathe. 2 more breaths, 3 more breaths here. Let that go, isometric hold go. Bring one hand behind the shin, one hand behind the knee, and play with that rotation of the femur in the hip socket. Even me, I'm feeling that impulse to bring the knee in closer towards the body. Try to keep it stacked here. You might even set the other leg down so that it's out of your way. Just with the assist of your hands, bring yourself through that full range of motion with support here. And then bring that to a pause, extend long through that left leg, reach the arms up and overhead, big breath in. You might even shift the shoulders and the head over towards that right side of the mat, breathing into that side body stretch. And exhale, come back through center. We'll windshield wiper the legs for a moment, side to side. You can use your feet to press the blocks up towards your mat. And we'll open up, or we'll roll over towards one side. Maybe not this side, but a cat is on that. Once you're on your side, go ahead and start to support yourself up into a seat. And then back on to all fours. We'll come into either a kneeling down dog. You can have blocks underneath the hands in either of these shapes, especially if your shoulders are a little sore. If you're coming into the kneeling variation of down dog, you want hips stacked over knees, and then walk the arms out long, letting the chest come towards the mat. Rotate the shoulders, the shoulder blades around the rib cage. You're coming all the way into that down dog. You'll curl your toes under, send your hips up and back, this generous bend in the knees, whichever position you're in. Find a place where you can feel strong. Press into the hands to create the shape. Especially if you're in that kneeling down dog. We're not going into a puppy pose. This is still really an active shape here. Shift your knees a little bit closer to midline, and we're going to shift our weight into that left knee or foot. Inhale, press the right foot back in space. We're going to play with that rotation here, thinking about opening the hip here. The toes rotate open, the hip follows. Notice if the hip lifts up off the mat. Once you meet that full rotation, exhale, bend the knee up towards the side. Step up towards the top of your mat. The hands come between or inside of that step. And we'll rotate on that left leg to create a kickstand. So I'm going to face backwards for a second here. You're going to lift up, coming into our grounded warrior 2 position. I'll flip around so that you can see me and hear me. Big breath in. Think about this front thigh spiraling out, pressing down into that lower leg, pressing the hips forward. Big breath in. Exhale, we're going to shift the hands back. That left hand comes towards the block, right hand reaches up towards the sky. And thinking about the support coming from that hip strength. There's rotation happening here in the hips to support. Inhale to come back through center. Exhale, hand or forearm comes to the right thigh. Reach the arms up and overhead. Big breath in. Big breath out. Maybe sink into that side angle. Find a little depth. Find a little squeeze. Inhale, come back to stack the knee over the foot. Arms come wide. We'll start to swivel. Hi, Oliver. Swivel that back knee around. And bring the hands towards the mat. Please don't attack me. Your foot should be on the outside edge of your hands. You can bring blocks underneath the hands here if that helps you kind of make contact here. And we're going to inhale, press into the blocks, round through the spine, tuck the head, press into that right foot, curl the left toes under, step them up, coming into a little squat here. If you notice, my squat was quite high when I started that step. I'm going to encourage you to sink your hips down, even if that means your heels lift up. Inhale, place hands on blocks or the earth, press into whatever your hands are making contact with. And we'll think about opening and closing the legs here. Just little pauses. Thinking about that rotation in this slightly different shape. 2 more. Squeezing the outer muscles of the glutes. Pressing into the hands, big breath in to lift the hips, lower the heels. Head comes towards the knees, a generous bend here. Let yourself hang. Inhale, hands towards shins, blocks, or thighs, halfway lift. We're thinking about that long, flat back. The hips sink back in space. Exhale to fold. This time, inhale, hands come towards hips. Hinge at the hips. Think about that extension that we practice to lift our spine tall. Reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, hands towards heart space. Take a couple rounds of breath here. Notice how those hips are feeling. Notice how the body is feeling. Maybe come back to that intention, that Ujjayi breath. And when you're ready, we'll let the eyes open. Walk the feet in underneath the hips, and we're going to play with that rotation in the hips. I encourage you to bring one hand towards that right hip crease. The other hand can be on the other hip crease if you'd like, or you can bring it to the heart space. Think about growing tall from these 2 points. We'll shift weight into that left foot, and we're going to play with opening up using that rotation in the, oh, I've got us mixed up here. We'll bring the hand towards the left hip crease, the other hand on your heart. The left hip is what's going to cause that rotation first. We're going to shift our weight into the left foot, this gentle bend into the left leg. Lift the right foot slightly off the earth, and we're going to rotate open with that left hip. Ah, Oliver, stop attacking me. My cat is biting me. He's off. Oh, no, he's on screen. So we're going to rotate here. Once you reach the edge of the rotation that can happen in that left hip, we're going to continue to rotate with that right hip. So it might be a little bit more step down, ground down through that right hip, and we're going to bring it back the same way. So we're going to, stop biting me. We're going to bring it back the same way. We're going to close off from that furthest hip first, and then rotate from that grounded foot. Ground into the left foot. Let the right foot hover, open from that left hip and then the right hip, and then step the right foot down, close from the left hip, and then the right hip, step down. We're going to do this all the way around our mat, shifting weight into that right foot, gentle bend, or that left foot, gentle bend, left hip opens, right hip continues the opening, you step down onto the right foot, close through the left hip and then the right hip. Ground down, probably one more for each. Shift onto the left, open through the left, open through the right, ground down to the right, close through the left, close through the right, step down. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, cactus the arms, elbows come in towards each other. Maybe you release the hands behind you, slipping those hands into imaginary pockets. Chest brightens towards the ceiling. Exhale, bend through the hips, let the hands slide down the legs, making contact here. Inhale, hands to blocks or shins or thighs, halfway lift. Grow the crown of the head towards the front of your space. Exhale to fold. Sink the hips all the way down, coming back into that froggy shape or that low squat. You can bring blocks back underneath the hands here. This time the hands are on the outside of the thighs. And we're just going to think about pressing the knees into the hands here. Big breath in. Exhale to release that push. Bring the hands down to the mat. Step one knee back and then the other, coming into all fours. Big breath in, press into the hands to reach the rib cage between the shoulder blades. Toes come slightly wider than the hips. Exhale to settle the chest back in between the shoulders. Inhale to sink back into this internal rotated child's pose. You might not get as far as you get in a regular child's pose, that's okay. Exhale to come back through center. Inhale to press into the palms, bring the toes to touch, the knees come wide, and then exhale, slide the hips back in space. They may come closer to the earth here, a child's pose. Take 3 breath cycles here. Let yourself melt into the mat. Let that next inhale float you back up either to that kneeling down dog or that full down dog. Hands can be on blocks or the mat. Come into either your down dog or your kneeling down dog. Hips stacked over the knees if you're in that kneeling down dog. Hands further forward than your shoulders. But an active torso here. And then wherever you're at, inhale, reach the left foot back in space, keeping the hips level here. Notice if they want to peel up and turn, keep them parallel to the mat. And then rotate that inner thigh towards the outer edge. Toes spiral out. When you reach that edge there, bend through the knees, step the foot forward any amount. You probably won't make it all the way to the front of your mat. Bring the blocks on the inside of that front foot. Make any adjustments here to your shape. We want an opening on that right hip crease. And then we'll bend through the left leg to spiral it open to our grounded warrior two. Open the arms out towards the sides. Big breath in to pull the arms out to either side. Think about that left side spiraling open. Right leg pressing, being strong. Exhale. Lean back, hand can come towards the thigh, towards the mat, or towards the block. Or grounded peaceful warrior. Inhale to come back through center, arms to a T. Exhale, our side angle, hand can come towards the block or towards the mat. Big breath in. Brings us back through center. Rotate on that back knee. Hands come towards the earth here, pressing into blocks or the mat. Round through on an inhale. Curl the back toes. Step it up. Exhale, sink into that squat. Heels can come up off the mat to facilitate this. Both legs towards the outside of the mat. And then we'll open and close here the legs. Finding rotation in the hips, just these little presses out. Just pulls back in. Bring that to a pause. Bring the hands towards the mat. Press into your blocks or into the mat. Big inhale to press the heels down. Lift the hips up or forward fold. Keep that gentle bend in the knees. Grab for opposite elbows. Maybe you find a sway from side to side here. Let that go, and on your next inhale, hands towards blocks, shins, or even all the way up towards thighs. Halfway lift, crown of the head is long, hips shift slightly back. Exhale to fold. Hands towards hips. Find that hinge from the hips to lift you all the way up. Hands can release up towards the sky. Exhale, hands towards heart. Take a couple rounds of breath here. Maybe you walk the heels back underneath the hips. Reconnect to your breath, reconnect to your intention. When you're ready, allow yourself to come back. Letting the eyes open. We'll have the feet planted on the ground. You can bring the hands towards the hips. We'll shift our weight over towards that right leg. We're going to start the opening from this right hip crease, letting the left leg lift slightly and opening with that right hip crease first, and then that left hip crease finishes the shape. So now this opens, settles down. Shift weight onto that left leg, a little bend, and we'll start closing with that back leg first and then the front. Shift back over towards the right, slight bend, open through the stabilizing legs, hip first, and then the floating leg. Step down, same thing, slight bend in the stabilizing leg, close through the stabilizing leg first, this is hard, and then close through the floating leg. Shift weight, stabilize with the opposite leg, open with the stabilizing legs, hip, and then continue that opening with the floating leg. Ground it down until you make it towards the front of your mat. A little bit of brain magic here. When you reach the front of your mat again. Inhale, reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, elbows out towards the sides, bringing them behind you. Imagine them kissing, maybe they actually do. You can release the hands down into these imaginary pockets in the back of your pants, finding a little back bend here. Exhale, let the hands float down the backs of the legs or the sides of the legs, hinge at the hips to get your forward fold. Inhale, your version of a halfway lift. Exhale, forward fold. When your hands meet blocks or the mat, begin to sink the hips down. If the heels can stay grounded here, keep them grounded. If they float up, that's okay too. Blocks come towards the outside of the legs. Hands come towards the outside of the legs, resting on blocks or the mat. And this time we'll press the knees out into those stabilized arms. I'm just pulsing here. One more, and then release. Bring the blocks forward, your hands forward. Press into the feet to step the legs back, either into a down dog or into that kneeling down dog. Find length through the upper body. Big breath in. And then exhale wherever you're at. Come into that kneeling down dog. Big breath in. Exhale, bring the toes outside of the knees, finding that internal rotation in the hips. Inhale, sink the hips back to a point that feels doable in your body. This internal rotation, child's pose. You might be floating here, that's okay. Couple rounds of breath here. Begin to shift forward on an inhale. The toes come to touch, the knees shift out wide. This time as you exhale, sink the hips back into that wide-legged child's pose. Couple rounds of breath here, just a little reset. Press into the palms. Inhale brings you back to that all fours and either to down dog or that kneeling down dog. We'll shift it up a little bit here. Inhale that left leg back in space. Oh, the left leg? Let's do right leg. Inhale, lift that right leg back in space. Heel towards the wall. Keep the hips squared towards the mat. From that squared hip position, rotate open that right hip, not lifting it any higher. Bring the right knee towards the right elbow. Step it up. Hands can shift back between our inside of that front foot. Curl the back toes under. Inhale, lift the back knee, press into the mat. Step the right or the left foot up to meet the left. Bend into the hips, that little froggy pose for a second here. Big inhale to lift the hips up, ground through the heels, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Whew. Inhale, this time sweep the arms up as you hinge from the hips to lift all the way up. Exhale, hands towards heart space. One breath cycle here, stepping the feet underneath the hips. Inhale, press into that left foot. Lift the right foot so that the knee is in front of the hip here. And we're going to open the same way we did at the beginning of those little steps. This time, we're going to use our grounded leg to open us up, and then our inner thigh to open us up. So same movement, different shape with the leg. Big breath in, rotate open from that grounded leg first. When you reach the edge of that, let that floating knee find that rotation out. When you hit the edge there, begin to hinge forward, press that foot back in space, step back, bending through that front leg. We're in our warrior two legs. Hands can come up from the hips into that T shape, sink into the bend. Inhale, reach the arms forward, bend into that front knee, press the feet into the earth, the hips curl under and both open, open out. Inhale to reach forward. Exhale to sweep it on back, peaceful warrior. Inhale, arms come back to a T. Exhale, that forearm comes towards that front thigh. Reach the arms up and overhead. Think about pressing that arm into the thigh. Thigh keeps wrapping out. Your glutes should be burning here. Inhale, back through center. Exhale, we're going to sweep that back arm forward up and step back towards the top of your mat. Inhale, slight bend through the knees to reach the arms up and overhead. Exhale, cactus the arms or find your back bend here. Breath in to fill through the front of the body. And exhale to fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Let the hips sink down, the knees come in between those arms. Hands can be on blocks or the mat. A little press out with the knees into the arms. Breath in to find that brightness through the front of the body. Press into the palms and step the feet back to a down dog. Or step the knees back to that kneeling down dog. Breath in, and that breath out, bring the toes wide. On your next exhale, sink the hips back and the up. Inhale to shift forward, bring the toes to touch, knees wide. And then exhale to come into that child's pose. Let yourself melt here for a couple rounds of breath. When you're ready, peek forward, come into that down dog or that kneeling down dog. We'll take that all to the other side, this time inhaling, pressing that left foot back in space, hips stay square to the mat. Begin to rotate out the toes, the femur, and when you reach that edge, begin to bend through the knee, bringing it up towards the top of your mat, stepping it down. Hands come towards the mat or towards blocks. Big breath in to round through the spine, curl the back toes under, step them up, sink into that squat. Pressing the knees out once more, big breath in, grow tall through the chest. Exhale, bring the hips up, press the heels towards the mat, forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale, fold. Inhale, hinge from the hips, open the arms up, come to standing, hands at the heart. Exhale, settle, bring the feet underneath the hips. We're taking that to the other side now, shifting weight into the right foot. Inhale, lift the left knee in line with the left hip. Again, that opening is coming from that grounded leg, so that right leg begins to open us up with an inhale. When we reach the edge, let the left hip rotate open as far as it can. And once you reach that spot, begin to hinge and press that left foot all the way back to step into our warrior two. Once you land down, think about sinking into the shape, arms reach wide, shoulders wrap around the rib cage. You might do a little shimmy shake forward and back. Press into the feet, sink into the shape. Inhale, reach forward. Exhale, sweep that arm up and back. Peaceful warrior, you can look up towards that hand. Inhale, come back through center. Feel those legs working openly, both hips. Exhale, forearm to thigh. Press them into each other. Find that glute, pressing the hips forward even more. Reach the arm up and overhead. Big breath. Inhale, come back through center. Exhale, sweep the left hand forward, step the left foot forward, hands to heart. Inhale, bend through the knees, lift the arms up and overhead. Exhale, elbows come together behind you, find your back bend. Big breath in. Big breath out. Let that go, fold from the hips. Inhale your halfway lift. Exhale, fold, sink the hips down. Knees come within the arms this time. A little press out of the hips into the arms. Grow tall through the chest, big breath in. And as you're ready, exhale, press the feet or press the hands into the mat. Come into your down dog or your grounded down dog. Lower the knees. Everybody meets in that grounded down dog. Exhale to bring the toes wide, knees stay where they're at. Inhale to sink the hips back any amount. Inhale to come forward. Bring the toes to touch, knees wide. And exhale to sink it back into your child's pose. A couple breaths here. We'll do that one more time, heading on. Breath in to bring you up into that down dog or that rounded down dog. Inhale, reach that right foot back in space. Spiral the hip open on an exhale, knee towards the same side. Elbow, step into that wide stance, hands come between the feet. Curl the back toes under. Step that opposite foot up. Sink the hips down. Inhale, grow tall through the chest. Exhale, press the hips up towards the ceiling or forward fold, gentle bend here. Inhale, halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, hands reach up and overhead. Exhale, hands to heart. Shift weight into that left foot. Inhale, right knee rises. Exhale, start to open from that grounded leg, that floating leg. And then when you're ready, shift forward, press that back foot back in space to land in your warrior two. Big breath in to open you up. Exhale to sink. Inhale reaches you forward. Exhale sweeps you back, pressing those legs. Inhale back through center. Exhale, forearm, 2, thigh, reach the arm up and overhead. Inhale, come back through center. Those blocks are up at the front of your mat. You can bring them slightly closer to that front foot. Blocks can be on any height here or stacked on the outside edge of your foot. Inhale, bring the arms wide. You might step the foot in slightly. Exhale, begin to hinge. Bring that foot down, or hands down. Reach that right leg up. Finding our warrior three. And then when you're ready, we're going to think about closing the hips. We're going to start with that grounding leg to close us off. Bend through the knee. Ooh, you're shaking. It's okay. Close through that top leg. Bend through the knee. Pull it up and towards the chest and step it forward. Whew. Inhale, halfway lift. And exhale, fold. Hands come towards the outsides of the feet. Inhale, lift the chest, press the knees into the arms. Exhale, step it back into a downward facing dog or that grounded down dog. Eventually lowering the knees, bringing the toes wide. Shift the hips back on an inhale. Exhale to come forward, toes to touch, knees wide. Exhale to sink the hips back, child pose. Couple rounds of breath here. Come back to your breath. Come back to your intention. Finding that opening at the edge of our strength. We've got one more side here. When you're ready, come back into that down dog or that grounded down dog. On an inhale, reach the left foot back in space. Exhale, rotate open the hip, pull the knee towards the same side elbow, step the foot up, that full range of motion. Press into the box or the ground, step that other foot up, sink the hips down. Inhale, open through the chest, press the knees wide. Exhale, lift the hips, fold forward. Inhale, that halfway lift. Exhale to fold. Inhale, come all the way up to stand. Exhale, hands towards the heart space. Inhale, shift weight into that right foot, lift the left knee. Exhale, open with the right hip first, and then the left hip. When you reach that edge, hinge forward. Shoot that left foot back in space to step into your warrior two. Arms come wide here. Breath in brings you forward. That exhale sweeps you back. Inhale back through center. Exhale, sink into that front leg, side angle. Breath in brings you back through center. Begin to set up your blocks, framing or just above on the outside edge of that right foot. Bend through the front knee, lift the back foot, keeping the edge of the foot parallel to the mat. Reach the arms up towards the ceiling or warrior three. Finding that rotation out in both thighs. And then starting to close with that grounding leg first. Rotate in, the hands both come towards the mat. Bring both feet in towards or underneath the hips. On an exhale, sink the hips down. Big breath in. Press the knees into the arms. Grow through the chest. Exhale, plant the palms. Step the knees back. Bring the toes wide. Breath in to sink the hips back. Breath out to shift forward. Toes together, knees wide. And then exhale to sink into that child's pose. If you want a little bit more of a cocoon, you can start to bring the hands inside those wide legs. Forehead to the mat or one ear to the mat. Just breathing here, starting to cue towards our body. Our cool down. If you've still been holding on to that Ujjayi breath, let go of that constriction at the back of the throat. And just find these full breaths into the upper back, the mid back, the low back, all the way into the hips. And letting it out from the hips, the ribs, the upper back. A couple of rounds of our Dirga breath here. Letting yourself melt into the mat. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders and we'll start to come up to a seat. Bringing the feet in front of us. We'll bring those blocks to the side of our mat by our hips for a move later. And we'll just start to windshield wiper the knees from side to side. Sit with the chest over the hips and let the knees form this 90-90 shape. We'll turn the torso towards that front leg. Big breath in to grow the chest. And exhale, walk the hands forward to find a fold over that front leg. Doesn't matter which side you start on. Let yourself melt. Finding those 3-part breaths here. Signaling to the body that we're cooling down. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders to gently lift the torso back over the hips. Rotate the knees the other direction. Find that 90-90 shape. Big breath in to grow tall through the chest. Press that back hip down. And exhale to fold forward any amount. Tap into those 3-part breaths here. Sending breath all the way into the hips, the ribs, the upper back. Exhaling from the hips, the ribs, the upper back. Bring the hands underneath the shoulders, begin to lift the chest. Bring both legs forward. Feet press into the mat as you lower onto the back body. Walking the heels towards the hips here. The tailbone tucks under, hands come towards the sides. You might snuggle the shoulder blades underneath the rib cage here. Lengthen through the spine, gently lifting the head, pulling the crown of the head towards the top of your mat. And when you're ready, press into your feet, press into the shoulders, press into the back of your head to lift your hips any amount. Our bridge pose here. Take a couple rounds of breath. As you exhale, let the hips ground down. Walk the feet wide for a moment, knees come into touch. Few breaths here. Maybe your eyes begin to soften or close. Letting that attention come inwards. We'll take a supported version of that bridge shape, walking the heels back in line with the hips. Making sure those blocks are within reach. Gently press into the feet, press into the shoulders and the back of the head to lift the hips. And you can slide one block underneath the hips. So you don't want it underneath the butt. You want it really supporting that full low back. Thinking about all 4 points of the hips. Grounding onto that block. If you want a little bit more support, you can bring actually 2 blocks next to each other underneath. So if you're like, this doesn't feel supportive, I want a little bit more, you can make that platform a little bit bigger by bringing both blocks underneath. Just make sure that they land underneath the rib cage. We don't want them poking into the ribs. This allows the butt to have a little bit more support. You can stay here in the supported bridge shape. Or a couple options. You can extend both legs out long. You can bring the knees in towards the chest, especially if you've got that extended platform underneath you. Just find it this lifted small ball shape. Or from there you can reach the feet towards the ceiling, legs up the imaginary wall. I like to imagine my legs get to be little seaweeds here in the ocean, just making little circles, organic movements. Whichever shape you're in, go ahead and take a couple rounds of breath. And we'll start to come out of whichever shape you're in, bringing the feet back down towards the mat. Knees towards the ceiling. Press into the feet to remove those blocks out of the way. Set them off to the side. Lower the hips down. Shift the hips over towards the right side of your mat. Bring the knees in towards the chest and let them knock over towards the left. Finding a little twist in the lower body. Arms can come out to a T or cactus, and your gaze might look over that right shoulder. Just breathe into your twist. Bring the gaze back through center. Float the legs back through center, the hips ground down, press the feet into the mat, shift the hips over towards the left, this time just a little bit to create space for the twist. Float the shins towards the ceiling and twist towards the right. A couple of rounds of breath here, just breathing into your twist. Bring the gaze back through center, untwist the legs, bring the feet towards the mat. We'll move into our final shape, our Shavasana. A couple options here. We get a lot of opening of those hips, so it might feel nice to have some closed hips in this shape. If you're craving that sensation, keep the feet grounded on the mat, a little bit wider than the hips. And then let the knees knock in towards each other. The hands can come out towards the side. You can snuggle the shoulders underneath. Tuck the chin and let the head settle down. And then let any tension melt from your body. And if you're craving more opening, you might bring the feet together, the knees wide in a Supta Baddha Konasana. Or you might extend the legs out long, toes fall out, letting yourself settle here in our more traditional Shavasana shape. Hands can be open towards the sky at the sides of the body, or you might want to bring the hands towards those hip creases, closing off that opening energy that we've been playing with. Hands may also rest one on the heart, one on the belly, finding that place that feels settling to you. Letting your eyes soften and close. Letting heaviness sweep over the body, the head becomes heavy. The shoulders melt into the mat, melt away from the ears. And the arms get heavy as they rest either on the body or to the sides of the body. That heaviness sweeps down the hips, down the legs, all the way to the feet. This lovely yielding into the earth, into your mat. Let yourself rest here, knowing that I'll wake you when it's time. Let that first movement that returns to your body be that full breath in, that full breath out. Begin to allow movement to return to those furthest extremities, the fingers and the toes. Maybe they wiggle, maybe they wobble. Let that movement grow into the wrists, into the ankles, into the elbows, into the knees, into the hips, into the shoulders. Eventually bringing that all in towards the midline. Knees come towards the chest. Hands come towards the shins. Maybe you pull the nose towards the knees. Give yourself a big hug here. Big breath in. On an exhale, let the upper body rest down. The feet rest down. The right arm comes towards the side and start to rock over towards the right, creating a little nest for your head here. Coming into this first shape that we ever really make in life. Taking a moment here for gratitude. To thank yourself for coming to your practice. To thank yourself for opening at the edge of your strength. And when you're ready, gently press yourself up into a comfortable seat. Sorry, Oliver. Letting the eyes stay soft or closed. We'll bring the hands towards the heart space. And we'll take 3 communal breaths together, beginning by exhaling the stale air from our lungs. Breath in through the nose. Audible sigh out together. 2 more like that. Breath in. Let it go. Last one here. Breath in. Let that go. The light and love in me sees the light and love in each and every one of you, and together we become stronger, we become brighter. Let those hands come up towards that third eye space and bow forward. Thank you for practicing with me today. I hope to see you again.